Hello, everybody. It is Matt, and it is Bloodthirsty Thursday, and I am back at you with yet another review. Before I roll on to any of that, I want to wish each and every one of you a great morning, evening, dawn, day, or dusk, all that lovely stuff, because life really is too short as is. Do me a really huge favor, like, share, and subscribe. I love seeing your beautiful faces when you are here. I know I am here an awful lot, but I have an awful lot on my plate to review. And one last little tidbit of information, check out the description box. Today I gave you a brief synopsis, very brief synopsis, because I am not a very good writer. I give you your starring cast, your director, your runtime of the cut I watched, which is the 29-minute, 30 minutes with credits, director's cut. I also gave you a link for a trailer, a link for where you can purchase this one if you like it enough, and if you decide you can help support Matt's Movie Mania and toss me a couple of dollars. So with all that said in mind and all that out of the way, let's roll on to the film of the day. And today's is a very interesting one. It's directed by Michael Let me make sure I say it correctly. Pollklesener. I'm sure I murdered your last name there, Michael, and I am very sorry. But either way, it came out in 1991. Like I said, I watched the 29 minutes director's cut of it, and it is none other than Fuck the Devil 2, Return of the Fucker. What an interesting title, what an interesting movie, what an interesting ride all the way from beginning to end. I really enjoyed this one. I actually kind of like it a little more than the first. Basically, what is it about? It's being only 29 minutes. It's gets to the point really fast, really quickly, which I like. Basically, the spirit of the fucker is stuck inside these haunted Evil Dead and Nightmare on Elm Street VHS tapes. And somebody watches one of the Nightmare on Elm Street tape, and it resurrects the fucker. He comes back, kills Freddy Krueger off in a lovely fashion by chopping off his clawed, gloved hand, and he I'm guessing decapitates him or blows his head up or something of that nature. You don't get to see it all. You get to see his blood splatter and Freddy's hat hit the wall. You don't see an after effect. Just to let you know, the effects in this are very primitive in my opinion. It is very low budget, but it does not hurt the film at all in any aspect of, in my opinion. I feel like it is still fun from beginning to end. The fucker, he does the Evil Deadite kind of transportation, quick moving thing. He'll hunch down on all fours, and it'll do the weird Deadite sound of them moving around. But in Michael's voice that is doing it. I'm thinking Michael is doing the voice of it. He plays the fucker himself. But he kills various people in various fashion. You start out with, like I said, Freddy Krueger getting killed. Moves on to a guy getting a hand shoved all the way through the back of his body out through his chest. Very cool effect. The fucker, by the way, if you watch the extended regular cut, it has a wrap-up of the first film. It does a recap of that for you. So you find out why he is decapitated on the floor in this apartment building. And when he comes back, he stumbles around without his head, and then he picks up the head and puts it back on his body, and so on and so forth. It is really kind of a fun effect. It is done, is to the best ability that Michael, and I forget who the other person was that did the effects for this. They did the best they could with what resources they had. I like the mask that the fucker wears. I think it's very cool. He moves on to killing a girl in the hallway with he strangles her, and it's a really cool effect where the cord is going into the flesh of her neck. It's actually kind of a cool, fun effect. You have a guy get a saw go through it, sawed through. Which, by the way, him sawing the piece of wood was like nails on a chalkboard. The sound that it was making, it was just so cringy. I was just like, oh my god, can you cut through that piece of wood any slower? But that's neither here nor there. But he moves on. He eventually gets to a victim where the victim plucks out the fucker's eyes, and he is eyeless. So he takes his eyes in return, decides he's going to put on some sunglasses that are hip, cool, and sweet. He goes over to the victim, decides he's going to do the great scalping effect gag, and he scalps him, and he decides he's going to wear his hair. It is absolutely just fun and just silly, ridiculous, but it is done in such a fun fashion that I really enjoyed it. He moves on to his final victim, which, oh wait, I almost forgot. There was a victim in a bathtub that was also very fun. He gets in the bathtub, turns himself invisible. Because the fucker has powers, he can turn himself invisible, he can do the dead-eye transportation, fast-moving type thing. He can also do, he has a trick where he snaps his fingers and it'll open up doors. He just has all these various tricks up his sleeves. So he turns invisible and he hides in the bathtub, and our victim comes along and she decides she's going to disrobe and take a bath, and eventually the fucker pops up and kills her in a very fun and brutal fashion. He stabs her, at least he stabs her a ton of times and thinks she's dead. Gets out of the bathtub and he's walking away, and out pops her arm, and eventually he goes back and decides he's going to finish up the deed and kill her by stomping on her repeatedly in the bathtub. It is actually kind of a fun effect as well. You don't get to see the after effect or the actual like stompage into the body, but the stabbing of the victim is fun. It's a fun idea. I really enjoyed it. And then eventually, like I said, moves on to the final victim after scalping the guy and taking his eyeballs. She knocks off. She fights the fucker, knocks his head off. Eventually stomps on the head. She thinks that everything is over. But no, it is not. The body of the fucker is still moving around and decides it's going to go after her. She quickly realizes that she has the haunted VHS tape, and she destroys it, which in turn destroys the fucker. The end. Very fun movie, very silly, very interesting. Just a cool little double feature to watch, both part 1 and part 2 together. I think that they are not for everybody, but they are for people that love extremely low budget B movies that have a lot of schlock and cheesy special effects, but are done in a manner that to where you can tell that they cared enough to give you a good enough story on top of it. Now, under the three things that I love my movies to meet, audio is actually really good on this Agfa Bleeding Skull dual feature co-production release. I think they did a top-notch job at cleaning up the audio and the video, the visual enough to where it gets an A+ in my eyes, in my ears. Because there's never a moment where you can't understand what is being said. Granted, yes, you have to read subtitles. There's not a lot of dialogue, so there's that aspect. I'll get to that in just a moment. But the audio is crisp, cool, and clean enough to where you don't have to worry about that. Now on to, and it gets an A on that, on the audio. Now on to dialogue. Dialogue, like I said, there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. It's very brief. It's most of the dialogue is a reporter over the radio talking about unidentified flying objects and things of that nature. It's pretty brief, not really a huge part of the story, but it's a fun little addition to it. Gives you a little more staying power to want to finish the movie. Like I said, it is only 30 minutes long though. So it's going to get a B on dialogue because I wish there was a little more dialogue. But this is not a dialogue-driven story. This is a story driven on action and the thrills of the fucker going around from apartment to apartment, flat to flat, killing each person one by one. So, the dialogue is going to get a B from me on there. Editing is the third and final thing that I like my movies to meet a high quality, and this is edited together really well. It never loses its momentum. There is no weird errors, continuity errors due to editing. There is nothing that makes you lose your pace to this film. It keeps your attention from beginning to end very, very well, and I feel like the editing is done just so smooth enough that it's able to carry a lot of the story on its back and give you an even better film overall, because I feel like the editing in this one is much better than the first one. Granted, they are only a year apart, but a lot can happen within a year. A filmmaker can learn a lot more tricks, can figure out what they want a lot easier, a lot more. So I really enjoy part 2 a lot. Now I'm going to give it an A on the editing. So it's got an A, a B, and an A. My final score of 1 through 5, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. It is really a fun flick. I hope you guys check it out. I like I said, I put the link in there for where you can purchase this one. It's not very expensive at all. I believe it was under $25 with shipping, if memory serves me correct. But either way, it's well worth your purchase. It's Agfa Bleeding Skull, done through the Vinegar syndrome website. So I'm going to give you, I'll have that link in there for that as well. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'll be back either tomorrow or Saturday with yet another review. Excuse me. I got a very special one that I need to do right away that is got a time on it that needs to be done. But either way, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I hope all of you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you on, like I said, either tomorrow or Saturday with yet another review. And as always, I love your faces. Peace.